if we put ourselves in Rome's shoes, it's entirely reasonable to say, look, you want to join the mainstream church, then for goodness sake, you wanted to join it. You asked us to join it. We gave you statutes and official approval to join it. Well, now, join it. Join in. Don't stay huddled with your little tradition, with your extraordinary form and so on, but join in. Is that unreasonable from the point of view of the Romans? Is it unreasonable for them to say, we believe in the council, you asked to join us, you've got to take into consideration the doctrine of the council? Is that from the Roman point of view unreasonable? No, it isn't. If the SSPX, it hasn't yet happened, we don't know that it's happened. But if the SSPX is now asking to join the Romans, my dear friends, don't be surprised if, sooner or later, there comes by a canonical visitation to the SSPX in England or anywhere else, and says, okay, you sweet little characters, I wish I'd wrote Alice in Wonderland. Oh boy, I wish it was. Has anyone heard the copy of Alice in Wonderland and then put it by The poem of the Walrus and the Carpenter. Do you know it, all of you? It's a jewel. You know, I mean, it's so marvelous. It's beautifully written. But the Walrus and the Carpenter, there's this oyster there. And there's a lot of lovely, sweet little oysters. And then there's one grinchy old oyster amongst them, with maybe a few buddies, and they're all old, and they're grinchy, and they're miserable, and they're negative, and they're backward-looking, and they're unconstructive, and they're not positive at all. And then they're all the sweet little oysters, woo! And the Walrus and the Carpenter come along and say, oh, sweet little oysters, come with us for a walk down the briny beach, and a nice picnic. And all the little sweet oysters say, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And the marvelous illustrations of Alice in Wonderland, I forget who did them, but Tennell, was it Tennell? I forget. Anyway, the marvelous illustrations of all these little oysters with two little feet. And they go along the briny beach to the other end of the beach for a picnic, and the grinchy old oyster, for further sake, he's old, he's ugly. He cripples, he's just a nasty personality, and he says, no, I won't go. So all they come on there. When they reach the other end of the beach, a couple of miles away, there they are, there's the Walrus and the Carpenter, and the sweet little oysters, and the sweet little oysters say, oh, what's going to be the picnic? And the Carpenter, who's the really nasty guy, says, the picnic is you. Oh, that's nasty, say the little oysters. But a little while later, there's no more protesting, because there were none of them any longer there to protest. They'd all been eaten by the Walrus and the Carpenter. So the Romans issue these sweet invitations. The Romans are the Walrus and the Carpenter. The trad cats are the sweet little oysters. The old Grinch was above all Archbishop Lefebvre. He wasn't actually all that ugly, nor was he all that nasty. He was actually quite nice. But he wouldn't budge when it came to being invited by the Romans down the beach into their conciliar nonsense. He said, no way, Jose. And he stuck where he was. And then another little more oysters gathered around him. And then he died. And then he had two successors, Father Schmidberger and Bishop Richard. And there's a lot of little oysters now all over the world. And now the Romans have come back. Come on, come on. We're going to offer you a picnic of being recognized and accepted in the official church. Woo! And there's a lot of little oysters, all excited, woo! And off, it looks as though they may be going off down the beach once more. It looks as though, please God, they won't. My dear friends, as far as I'm concerned, maybe you understand by now that I'm not exactly in favor of any such practical agreement without doctrinal agreement. And it's better to laugh than to cry, yes? So there you have it, and there's a few more words. But so the Romans quite naturally say, if you wanted to walk down the beach, don't be surprised if we now want to eat you up. You bought into us years ago, and this is inevitable. And every time one of these institutes, like Campos or like, it's very difficult to backtrack. One of the arguments in favor of making the practical agreement without a doctrinal agreement is, we'll always be able to backtrack. Yeah, like something you will. Once, the Archbishop saw very good. The old oyster had very good. He knew what the Walrus and the Carpenter were up to. He knew very well. If we put ourselves